Hi, my name is Richard Ellert. Welcome to today's masterclass, where we're going to cover the 5 steps necessary to rapidly advance your career by becoming a world-class problem solver. Let's talk about who this is for. If you feel you're stuck, unable to effectively solve problems, whether you're trying to improve your income or attain a higher position, or just make your work life a whole lot easier and less stressful, then this is for you. Why is problem solving important? Well, according to NACE, 91% of employers seek candidates with strong problem-solving skills. And critical thinking and problem-solving skills tops the list of skills employers believe will grow in prominence in the next 5 years. Here's what we're going to cover in the next 45 minutes. We're going to talk about how to build the skills to solve any problem, so you can shake off the stress and the headaches and the anxiety and focus on rapidly advancing your career. We'll talk about how to effectively raise your profile as the go-to person to get things done, even if you're constrained by a stifling hierarchy, and how to command better pay and earn promotions while freeing time to focus on your career and your family. We're also going to cover how to stop struggling, constantly fighting recurring problems, obviously leading to frustration and burnout. You need to focus on really finding enthusiasm for what you do. You need to escape the hamster wheel, become a better leader or a better expert. Here's my promise to you. I will give you a step-by-step strategy to become a world-class problem solver and secure faster pay raises and promotions by boosting results. What does that mean? Well, think about this. We all get paid to get better performance and better results. And as a problem solver, you will be uniquely qualified to solve serious recurring problems. Problems that not only affect you, but the entire organization. And doing so will clear your path to better pay and faster promotions. Before we go any further, let's see if this sounds like you. Do you dread going to work each day knowing you're going to be faced with never-ending challenges that you just don't know how to solve? Do you secretly wish you could be more effective at your job so you could be paid better and advance quicker? Or do you simply wish you could deliver on your professional expectations without having to spend a ton of overtime and coming home exhausted, unable to participate in your kids' activities? As a manager, are you paid to solve problems? Unfortunately, no matter what you do, the same problems keep reoccurring. You keep getting blamed for errors, failures, and deviations. Do you wish you could be a better leader, but it feels like all you do is firefighting, with no end in sight? Are you working way too hard in your job? Too many hours, frustrating your spouse, and burning yourself out? In short, is your lack of problem-solving ability harming your career, holding you back? If any of that sounds like you, I have good news. None of those are the real problem. The real problem is you haven't made the shifts. And we're going to talk about what those shifts are in a moment. For now, just know this. Once you make those shifts, you will immediately gain the confidence in your ability to solve problems once and for all, and never feel self-doubt again. You will become so much more efficient and productive so you don't have to work all these extra hours anymore. No more 10, 12-hour days. Your ability will be recognized throughout the organization, opening path to better pay, better promotions, and who knows, maybe even a better job. Without any doubt, you will become an authority on problem solving, becoming invaluable to your team, the leadership, and the entire organization. You will burst with self-confidence both at work and at home while reducing your stress level. And you will have the ability to reinvest your newfound time into things you've always wanted to do. Think of a hobby, time with the kids, date nights, go to the gym. Why am I in a position to make those promises? Who am I? Well, I'm an expert in continuous improvement and operational excellence. I've helped hundreds of executives and managers achieve breakthrough results they never thought were possible. And I've helped dozens of companies drive better results. But the bottom line is, I focus on delivering amazing outcomes from my clients. Let's dive right in and talk about how making those shifts will lead you to becoming a world-class problem solver. The first shift is about facing reality. We all look at things with pink glasses. We tend to get accustomed to problems. We learn to navigate around them. We find shortcuts and ignore what caused the problem in the first place. Facing reality may seem like common sense, but frankly it rarely is. Facing reality is about being open-minded. Now, Jack Welch said, face reality as it is, not as it was, or as you want it to be. Another famous guy, Albert Einstein, said, problems cannot be solved with the same mindset that created them. We operate in the environment that created the problem, so unless we approach problem solving with open-mindedness, curiosity, and a clear definition, we're bound to fail. Problems often repeat, perpetuating the same struggles, fearing failure, generating stress while disappointing our customers, our colleagues, and very often our family and ourselves. It doesn't have to be this way. In order to become a world-class problem solver, it is critical to be open-minded, so you can easily face reality as it is. Being open-minded liberates you from years of conditioning. Think of all the training you've received, all the experience you've accumulated, and even how your culture is affecting your decisions. This is the only way to help you lead others on the path to problem solving. As a result, you will feel accomplished, in control, productive, while reducing your frustration and stress, all the while gaining the confidence and recognition you deserve as a real problem solver. Let's talk about the effects of a closed mindset. Basically seeking the quickest way out, unloading the problems immediately, getting them off your plate, or having an incentive system that encourages quick fixes, jumping to conclusions, not understanding the benefits, or basically having a know-it-all syndrome, relying on your authority or experience to bypass the necessary analysis. Let's talk about the difference in solving a major customer complaint with a closed mindset versus an open mindset. On one hand, the manager storms in the room and tells everyone what to do. No one understands the conditions or the actions that led to the failure. We just follow the boss. He told us to do so, we do it. It's a fast decision, but it's ineffective. And the problem is sure to return. The problem is not solved. Customer is pissed. They probably won't come back. Now, with an open mindset, the manager walks into the room and leads the team by asking questions so that everyone can discover the conditions and actions that led to the problem or the failure. Yes, it's slower. It takes a little time to reflect and make sure that all of the potential root causes are identified. But at the end, the problem is solved once and for all, and the customer will remember that. Here's another example of solving a major breakdown with a closed mindset versus an open mindset. In this case, a machine stopped. The entire line comes to a standstill. 35 team members are idle. Now, the closed-minded approach would be the machine stopped. Why? Because the oil filter was clogged. So let's change the oil filter and restart the machine. An hour later, the machine stopped again. Filter was clogged again. But as a result, the machine was starved of oil and all the gears were damaged. Now we're talking about extensive repairs, days of downtime, tens of thousands of dollars in lost productivity. Why? Because the team focused solely on the symptoms and did not seek to find the root causes of the problem. Now, what would be the open-minded approach? Well, the machine stopped. Why? Because the oil filter was clogged. Well, let's ask why the oil filter was clogged. and the root cause was identified. And the root cause was a bad seal was allowing coolant in the oil. So the seal was changed, the filter was changed, the oil was changed. The machine was restarted, and there are no further issues. Now the outcome is a slower decision-making process, but chances of a catastrophic damage and recurrence was eliminated. Is that a better way? Of course it is. Now our second shift is about taking charge. What does it mean? It basically means take the bull by the horns. What does take charge means? It simply means own the problem. Now we always say that growth is always on the other side of the comfort zone. You have to get in front of the problem instead of cleaning up the mess. I don't know if you've heard this before. There is a famous phrase that says, unless you schedule maintenance, maintenance will schedule it for you. That's basically what it means. Get in front of the problem instead of cleaning up the mess. To solve a problem, someone has to embrace it with the determination and ability to drive the process to the end. Someone has to own the problem. Often the ownership of a problem is not defined or kept deliberately unclear so we can avoid the blame that is sure to follow. Now, how often have you seen this? There's a problem. How many people raise their hand to say, you know what, I'll take care of this? And if they do, they're usually the least qualified to do so. Well, forget all this. To get ahead, you must take it personally. At the end, you're part of the team. Failure of the team is a personal failure by definition. You have to embrace the problem. Take the ownership, regardless of what or who caused it. Now, very often the problem comes from another department. You know what? It's their problem. Let them deal with it. Well, is it having absolutely no effect on you? Of course it is. That's the interrelationship between departments, between people, between processes within businesses. Someone has to take the ownership. Someone has to take the bull by the horns. What I hear very often is people telling me, why should I take charge? It's not my job. Or it's not in my department. I've been told to stay out. Or I don't want to drag anyone through the mud. Or I don't want to embarrass anyone. Well, think about this. What's in it for you? Why should you step in and take charge? Well, if you step in and took charge and resolved the problem permanently, what would happen? You're no longer a follower, but you're recognized as a leader who takes charge. That's the trait of a leader. That's what businesses look for. They don't care about hierarchy if you're resolving problems. And the results are irrefutable and recorded, which means it's at your disposal. This is something that comes up in your review. Here's what I did. It's irrefutable. I have the proof. I have the numbers. Here are the number of problems I solved. Here was the cost of those problems. Here's the return of investment of the time I spent resolving those problems. And at the end, your colleagues will seek you out to help them resolve their issues and their problems. You become a mentor. With resolve comes clarity, which will vaporize your stress and frustrations. And this is very easy to understand. You take charge. You resolve the problems. Things become really clear. And as a result, the stress and the frustration vaporizes. That's what you want. You want to take charge. And that's what's in it for you. Of course, you have no control over other departments. But guess what? Take charge of the problem by reaching out. and bringing all the stakeholders together to jointly identify causes and solutions. That's what matters. For example, someone created a problem that's not my fault, but I still take charge because it will eventually affect me. Now, it may not be immediately evident, but any failure within the business affects the business. It affects its results. It affects its ability to pay its employees, to grow, to attract investors. A vendor sent a defective part. I have no control over their process. But guess what? I know how to solve problems. I can reach out to them and say, hey guys, can I help you resolve this? Here's a few ideas. Here's a few ways you could take to try to resolve the problem. Not only are they going to be grateful, you're going to make a great friend from a vendor, and these days, believe me, that's important. But guess what? You're not going to get defective parts anymore. Reach across the aisle. No, it doesn't work very well these days, but that's the way it goes. A vendor is part of your chain. If they fail, you fail. A key product is unprofitable. Now, it could be a service. It could be anything that you offer. Well, if you invite all the stakeholders and lead the problem-solving session, you will resolve the problem. It doesn't mean you have to know all the intricacies of solving the problem, nor do you have to know what the root causes are. But what you do is you bring everyone around the table and you run them through the process and through the method, and as a result, you help them solve the problem. Believe me, they will be grateful. How do we do this? Well, it's very simple. We use the barrier buster. Now, it doesn't sound much like problem solving, but believe me, after years of experience of using this method, what came out of it is the clear indication that what it does, most of all, is bust barriers. Whether it's between stakeholders, between departments, between companies, between colleagues, we found that using this method helps bring down the barriers and solves problems as a result. Let's talk for a moment about the old way of dealing with problems. And quite frankly, the old way has never worked and never will. Now think about this. It's all about firefighting, applying band-aids, focusing on the symptoms. Remember the example, right? The clogged oil filter. Figuring things out by yourself, jumping to conclusions. Now, I have rarely seen any individual in a position to solve a problem without seeking help from others who may be in a position to bring some views and some perspective on what the problem and what the root causes may be. Acting before understanding, right? I would even go as far as saying reacting. Not understanding what the root causes are, jumping directly to a solution. Now this one happens a lot, pointing fingers. It's someone else's fault. Why should I get involved? Using an outdated way that takes weeks or even months to complete. Now, every company has a method to deal with problems. Unfortunately, many of those ways are outdated, but they're still being used. They've been proven wrong time and time again, but guess what? That's what we do. That's the way we've always done it before. And then my favorite, hope and pray. Right? Hope for the best and pray it will not happen again. Now, there are a few others. But most importantly, the one I keep going back to is figuring things out by yourself. Now, because you're limited by your experience, your culture, your knowledge, it's very difficult to get perspective on a problem. It's often really important to bring in someone who actually knows absolutely nothing about it, because they will ask the dumb questions without feeling dumb. I've done that a lot as a consultant, sitting in a company that I absolutely don't know, asking the dumb questions. And guess what? Those usually uncover what we call outliers, which is the problems and the root causes that no one had thought about, or no one thought to bring up because it was too dumb. There is no dumb questions. And then there's also the issue of using complicated methods to solve simple problems, right? You have to apply the right method to the right problem. And that's exactly what we try to do with this method. Now, why is it that the old way doesn't work? Well, there are a number of things, but basically here are the top ones. No method or not the right method. Too simple or not comprehensive enough. So it's basically using the wrong tool. Not understanding the true causes, so the wrong actions are taken. Right? Think of, the police coming up to an accident. What is the first thing that they do? They ask questions. They take photos. They take measurements. They do breathalyzers. They do a bunch of things that allows them to find the data that they're going to need to come to a decision as to what the root cause may be. They don't jump immediately to saying, hey, this guy looks pretty shady. Let's arrest him. He's responsible. Although some of you may argue that that may happen. But I'm talking about in general terms. No ownership over the problem, or over the process, or over the impact. That goes back to the issue of taking charge, right? If there is no ownership, the problem will never get resolved. Not facing reality. I think we went over that ad nauseum, but very clearly, not being willing to face the reality, kind of burying our head in the sand, hoping it's going to go by, has never been an effective way of dealing with problems. And not understanding the impact of a wrong or ineffective solution. That's mostly because we don't understand what is the return on investment of doing the right thing. Most people fear attacking a problem they are surely unable to solve. So with this method and our help, you will be confident you can solve this problem. So forget about the old way. Let's talk about the new way, which I consider to be a practical yet effective method. It's called the barrier buster method. What does it do? Well, it basically simplifies a complex process by breaking it down into manageable bites. I often said, to my clients, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. And this is so true. It boils everything down to a single page, making it easy to share and understand. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that the process itself is not complex. It means that it is easily communicated. It is easily understood. It is easily interpreted. That's what's important. People want to eat the sausage. They don't want to know how the sausage was made. That's what it comes down to. The one-page output acts as an accelerator that brings people together to better collaborate. When there is a guide, when there is a method, that means there is a standard. That means people can be trained to that standard. That means they understand it, they will follow it. And as long as someone is guiding, you're taking charge, then the results are sure to come down. What it does is it encourages people with different viewpoints to collaborate and jointly develop solutions. It guides team members through a clearly structured process to keep everyone focused. It brings total transparency to a historically opaque process. And it allows people with little or no training to engage and contribute to the process. By experience, I know that it's about 10 times faster than any other method. Problem to solution in 3 days instead of 30 days, in 80% of the cases. This one-page method allows completing the entire process in one go. Can be done in minutes instead of hours, and gives a clear overview of status, structure, and solutions. Clearly, it's a solution. It's a method that, if adopted and applied properly, can be transformational in our ability to problem solve. Now, there are 5 simple steps to the barrier buster method, and here is how it works. First, we define the problem. Now, we truly define the problem, not just the machine stopped, right? Or just the customer is unhappy. You have to define it. You have to find the data. You have to be able to identify what it takes to actually understand this problem. In general, what I say is I should be able to show my definition of the problem to my wife when I get home, and she would understand it with no trouble. Then you thoroughly analyze the problem to understand the drivers. What led to this problem? What are the root causes to the problem? Not necessarily the actual root causes, but the potential root causes. Here's a list of all the things that could have gone wrong and that may define the problem. Once you understand that, then you can design a solution. You develop the solution that directly eliminates the drivers. And you make sure that there is a solution for every driver. Now again, if we don't do this, we're basically playing whack-a-mole, right? We solved one of the drivers, there's still 2 out there. Which means this problem is going to come back, for sure, sooner or later, because we didn't identify all the drivers and we didn't design appropriate solutions to eliminate all of the drivers. Once we've designed the solutions, we implement them, right? Let's put it in place. Let's test it. Let's see if we've actually affected all of the drivers with our solutions. Let's get some data out of it. And once we're confident that we've actually addressed all of the potential drivers, then we anchor the solution. We anchor this solution in the culture and the operating system of the company or the operation. That's very important. That's standardizing the new way of doing things. Making sure that people are trained to do it that way. Not just keeping it on the paper and filing it. That's the method. It sounds overly simplistic. It takes a little bit of getting used to, particularly in making sure that we're thorough and that we're asking all the right questions. Now let's talk about what are the outcomes of using the barrier buster method. Now the first one that comes to mind is the obvious one, that problem will not reoccur. Now can we say that that's true in 100% of the cases? Probably not. There's always environmental and human factors involved. But more importantly, it could very well be that we entirely missed one of the root causes and just passed right over it. In which case the problem will come back and we'll have to revisit it. The good thing is we'll have a process in place to do so. Now, clearly, by now the process and the situation are under control. They're known to all, there's a standard to deal with it, everyone is happy, and the problem doesn't reoccur. The problems are solved, and obviously will not reoccur. And more importantly, in the long run, And sometimes in the short run, it will save us time, effort, resources, and more importantly, money and stress. The entire organization becomes more efficient. It's achieving better financial results. And people recognize that there is a better way. And guess what? You are leading the way. Let's drill down a little further into the method. Why don't we break down the first step? The first step is to have an effective and accurate problem statement which will help us define the problem. So let's talk about what are the key components that will guarantee we have an accurate and effective problem statement which will help us define the problem. So the first one is to capture data and state facts. Now what does that mean? Well, it's basically the police getting on scene like we talked earlier. What happened? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Who was involved? What's the impact? Anything that may be helpful to the team who will drill this down later to truly understand the circumstances of the problem. Then we're going to describe the circumstances, what has contributed either directly or indirectly to the problem. And that could be weather conditions, lighting conditions, network conditions, anything that may impact how we look at the problem and how it may affect the circumstances of when the problem happened. The third one is to check occurrences. Now, how often such a problem occurs? Now, why do I say such problem? Because it doesn't have to be exactly the same problem. It could be something very similar, but that may have the same root causes. So what we do is we go back and we ask ourselves, how many times has this happened in the past? Whether it's this exact problem or something similar to it. And then lastly, we quantify the impact. How severe is the impact? How severe is it on people, on the environment, on our financials, on our customers? Why is this important? Because it gives us the ability to prioritize our actions. Now, in most organizations, there are dozens of problems every day. Now, if we attack all of those problems using the barrier buster method, we're going to end up with dozens and dozens of problems to deal with. How do we prioritize which one we're going to deal with first? Well, by properly defining what the impact is, it's going to give us dollar signs. It's going to give us what's the impact on the business. And we'll be able to make choices either based on the cost of the problem or the effect it's having on customers or the effect it's having on our employees. There are many, many ways of quantifying the impact, but very, very importantly, it has to be quantified accurately. So those are the 4 components that are absolutely required in an effective problem statement. The 4th shift is about formalizing your process. So what does formalize your process mean? Well, it basically means we can't just talk about it. We got to write it down. Writing things down means acknowledging the problem. Something definitely has to change. So, how do we do that? Well, to systematically solve a problem, we need an effective formal method. You can't just throw it in the air and hope it's going to stick. We need a formal method that allows documenting findings, actions, and outcomes. It firmly connects the owner to the benefits created for customers or colleagues or for the company for that matter. And at the end, there is no doubt about who led the effort, ensuring that results are clearly recognized. And how does that help you? How does a formal process help me? Well, it's very simple. First of all, it supports my career by documenting my contribution and successes. It eliminates the stress by following a step-by-step instructions on how to tackle issues. The formal way is a prerequisite for being coached and coaching others. If you have nothing to refer to, how are you going to coach anyone? Or for that matter, how are you going to be coached? And it will future-proof your career by building portable skills that are in high demand. We talked earlier about the fact that 91% of employers look for problem-solving skills in employees. So this is a proven method to ensure you don't get sidetracked by meaningless activities while freeing up time to focus on what's truly significant. And it cuts down on arguments because there is a clear, standardized way forward. It's basically not the loudest voice, but the most informed voice that wins. It will also allow you to create real and measurable financial impact. Remember, we talked about return on investment. So you can earn a well-deserved bonus, command a higher salary or a better position, right? If you contributed real dollars to the company and it's measurable and it's documented, then it's very easy to make the argument that you deserve to be brought in to the gains. It will place you in the driver's seat to gain control over any problem that presents itself. And more importantly, it will boost your confidence, using a proven and successful method to achieve just about anything you set out to do. And lastly, the fifth shift, which is invest in mentoring. Why is that important? Well, there's 1.78 billion articles about problem solving on Google. Now, just to give you a little perspective here, it would take you 3,400 years to read all of them if you spent 1 minute per article. Think about this for a second. 3,400 years. There's no question that many of them are very useful, and probably given enough time, you could find a solution to becoming a world-class problem solver on your own. But here's the thing, it would require hundreds of hours of research, hundreds, if not thousands of hours of trial and error, and hundreds of hours to build a cohesive program that works. All of that extra effort can be eliminated by investing in a coach or mentor. An experienced coach gets you to your goal much faster than going it alone. On average, your learning curve will be shortened by a factor of 100 so that you get on the path to success right away. Bypassing the trial and error phase gets you ready to immediately adopt best practices from day one. No fiddling around, no Googling stuff, not trying to compile hundreds and hundreds of articles to try to make sense and make a method that actually is coherent. What's the bottom line? Basically, bypass the trial and error struggle and adopt best practices from day one. That's what it comes down to. So if you basically want to sort through the noise and focus on the triggers and conditions that created the problem, you need someone to guide you through the process, help you accurately defining the problem, help you accurately ensuring solutions are appropriate and impactful. Anyone committed to personal or professional growth should invest in a coach and be guided by an expert who has done it many times before. So here's what I promised today. That you would gain how to obtain the skills and capabilities to solve any problem that comes your way, without the headaches and anxiety while rapidly advancing your career. How to effectively raise your profile as the go-to person to get things done, even if you're constrained by a stifling hierarchy or difficult colleagues. And how to command better pay and promotions while freeing time to focus on your career strategy and your family. How to stop the daily struggle, firefighting, fighting the same problems which lead to frustration and burnout, while finding renewed enthusiasm for what you do. Love to go to work, love interacting with colleagues, getting results, getting documented results. How to escape from the hamster wheel, constantly running over the same problems over and over and over again. Constantly running up against inertia and frustration while gaining valuable knowledge to lead others. Becoming a leader, not a follower. And a step-by-step strategy to be recognized as an expert problem solver, which undoubtedly will secure faster pay raises and promotions. So what is it that you need to actually win? Well, we covered that today. Basically, you need to face reality with an open mind. You need to take charge and own the problem. You need to learn the barrier buster method. You need to formalize your process. And you need to invest in a coach or mentor. Any coach, any mentor. So now you have a choice. You can either remain stuck, fighting the same fires again and again, feeling stressed out and defeated, disappointing your customers, your colleagues, and your family, being passed over for promotions or for career opportunities or higher pay. Or frankly, if you're done with all that, you can be recognized as a world-class problem solver. You can control your destiny, driving your career rather than being pushed around. You can feel accomplished, relieved from frustration and stress. You can get the pay raise you always wanted and now deserve. You're excited. Well, first of all, to get up in the morning and to go to work, knowing you're making a difference. And finally, you come home relaxed, confident, and ready to share precious time with your family. Having said all that, how can I help? My team and I have set aside some time in the next 48 hours to speak with you personally about how you can apply these ideas to your professional life starting today. Whatever your biggest challenges are, I guarantee you we've seen it all, and we know how to overcome them. On this session, we will work together to craft a step-by-step game plan to hit your advancement goals for this year, whether it is better pay or promotion, and greater professional recognition as a world-class problem solver. And what's the cost? It's absolutely free. Let's talk about who this is for. You must be in a position to influence others, ideally as a team leader or supervisor, a manager, all the way to a CEO. You must be open-minded and willing to learn new ways. And you must hold yourself accountable to the highest standards of professionalism and integrity. So if that's you, book a session now. Go to www.coachrichardellert.com/apply. So why are we doing this? Well, first of all, we love helping professionals achieve their goals. That's what we do. Plus, we know you might want our help to transform your career. And if so, we can discuss it to see if it's a good fit for both of us. And frankly, if it's not, that's fine too. In the next page, you will find a link that will take you to my calendar at coachrichardellert.com/apply. You will see a selection of times. Go ahead and book a time that works for you. Then you will be redirected to a very short application form. Fill that in. It just gives me more information about you. Gets me prepped for the call. Then we will jump on the call at the time you chose, and we will talk about how we can help you become a world-class problem solver. I promise you, it's going to best 45 minutes you spent working on your career, ever. I hope this course was helpful to you. Thank you for showing up, and I look forward to seeing you soon.